No, we
The 5-year freeze on immigration for permanent settlement.
permanent settlement.
Now, why
That's the
would you
point.
want to stop French or Polish or German or Spanish or American from coming here?
We're talking about permanent settlement. We're not talking about people coming here to work. Our ban is on permanent settlement because we think there's enough of it. And I don't know if you know, but there are at the moment 5,000 new people settling here permanently every year at the moment. Every week. That makes 250,000 a year. And the fact is that our services and our infrastructure and everything simply can't go on taking this rate of increase. So what we want to see is a freeze. We're not saying that we're not going to have people in. Of course there'll be genuine asylum, and of course the families...
Either you have a freeze or you don't. Either you allow some in or you have a freeze. If you allow some in, it's not a freeze.
No, forgive me, Andrew. If you have a freeze for permanent settlement, that is a freeze for permanent settlement. It does not stop the Americans continuing to come in, the Australians, the Canadians. They
As temporary workers.
Well, on a work permit, and when they've been here for a certain period of time, I don't know what it is, 5 years or something like that, then they can stay.
So it's not a freeze?
Well, it is a freeze on new people flooding in, which they are at the moment, for permanent settlement. Our borders have been completely abandoned and deliberately abandoned.
So all I have to say as an American or a Frenchman is I'm coming here temporarily, and if I can stay here for 5 years, I'll become permanent.
Like us going there, you would have to get a permit. It's exactly what happens if you want to go and work in New York.
Is it true that you would like to see a hung parliament as a result of this election?
Yes, I'm afraid I have come to that conclusion.
Now, could you explain to our audience why, as the most Eurosceptic of all parties, you would like a parliament where the balance of power would lie in the hands of the most pro-European party of all, called the Lib Dems?
Well, that remains to be seen. I mean, we can't say that until we see the result of the election. But I'll tell you why.
But that's the likely result of a hung parliament.
I'll tell you why. A hung parliament, I agree, will set up a certain amount of confusion. It probably won't last very long. There will probably be another election fairly soon. And I hope UKIP will be in a position then to show all the failed old parties that they cannot form a government unless they grant the British people the referendum on our EU membership, which we were promised. And if you say to me, but surely the Conservatives are more Eurosceptic and all the rest of it and must have David Cameron in. David Cameron with a working majority is certainly the end of this country. And I'll tell you why. Because he has ruled out any form of referendum on our EU membership for 5 years.
But he said if there's any more European treaties involving integration, there would have to be a referendum.
Yeah, but that, you see, that I'm afraid is a red herring from Mr. Cameron. Because if there were any more powers being passed to Brussels, all he has to do is veto that in the Council. And what you've got to think of is 5 more years of integration into the European project. You know, already things are going. The City of London, supervision has gone, the Foreign Service has gone, the embassies are going, Justice and Home Affairs is going, the public prosecutor is on there. They say they don't want the public prosecutor, but so you've got to think of 5 more years, and at the end of that, we won't just be enmeshed in the tentacles of the corrupt octopus. We may well be in its bowel and be unable to escape. And that is a frightening prospect.
Are there some Eurosceptic candidates, probably Tories, who, though not exactly on the UKIP wavelength, are close to you, that you won't stand against?
Yes.
How many?
I will be making some announcement, I think, early next week. I'm not sure yet. I'm working on it.
A handful?
I think, I don't know yet. I don't know. At the party conference, I said 7 or 8. It may be up to a dozen. And I'm even thinking of, in some constituencies, asking our activists to support these people, of whatever party. They are mostly Conservatives, because the Conservatives...
Will there be some Labour ones?
There will be at least one Labour one at the moment, yes.
Around a dozen?
I haven't been able to find a Lib Dem yet, I'm afraid.
I wouldn't waste too much time.
No,
looking, I think.
anyway, we'd like a Lib Dem if we could find one.
I'm sure you would. So around a dozen candidates, not of UKIP, that are sufficiently sceptical for you to step back.
To step back.
And maybe even support.
And maybe even support, because we don't want to stop those people getting into the House of Commons. If we're not going to win the seat, I don't want our activity to stop people who are genuine come-outers, and I'm afraid I have to be absolutely sure of that.
Good. Now, are you doing this unilaterally, or are you in discussions with them, putting conditions to them for withdrawing support?
It's a matter of trust. I know.
So you're not going to say, we'll withdraw if we really can believe
we know.
you this.
We're
You're just doing it.
We're saying we know who you are.
We know
from your record.
And you know where they're standing.
And we know where they're standing. We know where Philip Davis in Shipley stands. We know where Douglas Carswell stands. We know where Philip Holloway stands.
These are some of the names.
And we would be mad if we put candidates up against them, because in all those three cases, a successful UKIP campaign could well stop them getting into the House of Commons. And those are not seats we're going to win.
What is the best you can hope to do on May the 6th?
The best we can hope to do is to win, obviously, Buckingham, Nigel Farage's seat, maybe a few other seats. I can't say how many, but as many as we possibly can. I would, of course, we would want that. But the best we can hope to do short of that is to show that UKIP has made a difference, that the three failed old parties, as I've said, cannot form a government unless the British people are given the referendum that
But you could end up with no MPs, you accept?
We could, I accept that. Of course, that's up to the British people.
Malcolm Pearson, thank you for being on Straight Talk.